Britain's takeaway consumption since 2020 has increased by a huge 50%. Let's take a look at that craziness.
Witness the Fitness Podcast. Discussions and ramblings of everything fitness, health, and nutrition. Let's go!
So it's been in all the kind of major newspapers that the Institute of Fiscal Studies has released this data that since kind of COVID times, that takeaways now in the amount of calories that the average Briton gets from it has increased by just under 50%. Now that is absolutely crazy, especially when you consider the state of our health anyway. And weirdly, it doesn't really shock me. Does it shock you? I don't know. When you look around the world, I know it's quite judgmental, but when you look around, it's clearly people aren't the healthiest at all in any way, shape, or form. What surprised me even more, though, is that during COVID, like when we first got locked down, the amount of takeaways that the fiscal studies show went up to 78%. So when we got locked down, so we've got this health pandemic, regardless of what you think about it, but health was big on the agenda. And because it was that important, people started consuming highly processed, high fat, high salt, low nutritional content food that we know categorically makes you unhealthy. And I'll cover some research in that. We consumed it in abundance. So like pre-COVID level, when we got locked down, it went up to an increase of 78%, and then it dropped a little to its current levels where it's now just under 50% higher than it was kind of pre-pandemic, which is just crazy. So all in all, we're consuming more and more takeaways seemingly year on year out since that pre-COVID. There's a trend there overall. And when you look at, if I look at the revenue for which one was it? The main takeaway, the Just Eat takeaways, they made, let me get this number right because it's a big ass number. They made $3 billion revenue since in the year of 2022. So they was taking the dividends of their hard work and labor. The fact that that's worldwide revenue, by the way. So that's not just the UK, but that shows you that huge increase in demand for takeaways, and the overall kind of consensus of it is there. So not only are Just Eat takeaways making £3 billion in revenue in 2022, it kind of makes sense that then we are consuming around 50% more takeaways right now than we used to before COVID. And there's a couple of points that I want to discuss that I'm just going to give my opinion on, and we'll kind of break it down. As always, I'd love to know what you think as well. You can always add them into the comments if need be. Now you're probably thinking, Pete, like, why are you bothered? I'm like, this matters a lot. This is the health of not just me, our nation, and the way our nation works. And when we look at the kind of the talking points around the NHS and stuff, this is the kind of stuff that needs chucking higher up on the agenda. This is the kind of stuff that, in my humble opinion, needs talking about and actioning, not even just talking about it. Once you've talked about it, like, what are we doing about that? This needs to be higher up. So what are the implications for health and fitness with this surge in takeaway consumption? Because it's crazy. So when we think takeaways, we know that this will lead to higher calorie intake, higher saturated fat intake, and higher salt intake. We know that happens. Takeaway food, while tasty, and it's tasty because it's got them major two ingredients in, saturated fat and salt. They generally taste nice when put in, but it's got it in like high abundance. We know this contributes massively to weight gain, to high cholesterol, to higher risk of like chronic diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. And then when we kind of look at the state of the NHS, and we know that the three biggest killers are all preventable disease. Like heart disease is a preventable disease because a lot of lifestyle factors like eating a shitload of takeaways contributes to it. So we're starting now to see cause and effect. The data is in, people. What are we doing about it? At the moment, in my humble opinion, we don't really do anything about it other than kind of like state, oh, there's a 50% increase in, it just passes people by like they don't care. But when we start bringing, we'll just say touching points like the state of the NHS, everyone gets on their high horses and has got an opinion about it failing or not working right. And here we've got two factual things. The NHS is being pushed to the brink, and it's generally getting pushed here. When you look at the top three diseases, ailments that they have to deal with, they're preventable via lifestyle factors. And then we've got this other data that is compounding that. We are consuming way too much takeaway food, or just food high in calorie, high in saturated fat, high in salt. That is the biggest contribution overall. And there is research, plenty of research, that then backs this up. Now, researchers constantly, and I mean constantly, proven a correlation between takeaways and various kind of ill health, such as diabetes, heart disease, them weight related illnesses that are gained from lifestyle factors like what you decide and how much food you put into your mouth. So let me get this right. The first one is from the British Medical Journal. Found that individuals who consume takeaway meals more than once a week have a higher risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease compared to those that consume them less frequency. If you consume more and more takeaways and it's increased by a 50%, you're probably going to get ill. A serious illness, wherever it be, obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, preventable disease that we know is straining the NHS. Fact. However that makes you feel, that is solid. Other studies, another study conducted by the University of Liverpool highlighted that takeaway meals tend to be higher in calories, unsaturated fat, and salt. This is information we know. It's now been proven via data and a solid university research. Whilst it also lacks in essential nutrients such as fiber and vitamins and minerals. So we know when you consume this type of food, when you consume takeaways, you're generally consuming, most of the time, way too many calories, way too much saturated fat, and way too much salt. And while you're consuming this, you are not really getting any fiber and you're not getting any vitamins or minerals. This imbalance then in nutrient intake can contribute to the things that we've already said: weight gain, elevated cholesterol levels, and an increase in the risk of chronic diseases. That research was from 2022 as well. So those two research points. So it's unequivocal, like the data's in. If we keep this trend going, and we already know that our obesity rate is going up anyway, it has done since, well, it's been going on for decades, kind of like from the 70s, 80s upwards. It's just been escalating. And then we have a health pandemic where, regardless of what you think about that, the focus should be on health. And seemingly, as a nation, it won. We just got locked up in our houses. Mental health was an issue. And then we made some seriously poor choices. Takeaways increased by 50%. It's just crazy, in my opinion. I think we've got to this point simply because it's never been more convenient and accessible to just order a takeaway. So, I mean, we've already discussed the takeaway providers, like Just Eat and Deliveroo, and how much money they're making. And back when I was a lot younger, if you wanted a takeaway, you would have to literally get off the sofa, go to the takeaway, and order it. So I know that's not much, but it's now even more convenient. So to order one now, and I've obviously done this. I do eat takeaways. It's fine. I don't have them often, but I do have takeaways. So I don't want to seem like I'm preaching against it, but we eat way too many. I generally have a takeaway maybe once a month, so I know it's not going to negatively affect my health when I have it once in a blue moon. Totally fine. So I'm not going down that line. But where I'm going with this is now it's never been more convenient. I literally sit on my arse, continuing to watch TV. I pull my phone out of my pocket. I load the app up. I click a few buttons. I hold my fingerprint on it to pay. And it turns up to my door maybe 30 to 40 minutes later. It's never been more convenient. It's never been easier. Now, why are we doing this? Because we've been pandered to, we've been made to believe that we're all too busy, too special, or it's a treat for you by the companies that are generating billions of revenue off your health. That's what's happening there. You're too busy, this, that, and the other. And then when we look at the price of food at the minute, yes, it has gone up. But, you hear people that go, oh, it's too expensive to eat. So, too expensive to buy food. So I'll order a takeaway, right? I do not believe for 1 second that ordering a takeaway is cheaper than cooking a homemade meal. I don't fucking believe it. I've heard this excuse off before. Pete, it's cheaper to buy it in and let them cook it because of the energy prices and this, that, and the other. Bullshit. I'm not having it. Right? Last time I ordered a takeaway for 2 people, it cost me in excess of £30. Now, I'm not begrudging the money. I'm just saying that's what it cost me, £30, and it turned up at my door. I know I could go into the supermarket, spend maybe, I don't know, let's go £10 to make let's go chili, bang it in the slow cooker. That is significantly cheaper than ordering it in. But Pete, you've got to get to the supermarket, the cost of that. Fuck it, I'll walk. I'm going to walk to the supermarket, buy some whole foods that are nutritious, come back, bang them in the slow cooker, and it will feed 4 people, about £10. It can be done. We just believe in this fucking laziness. We're believing the lies that some of these businesses chuck out to you. Too busy, or you've had a stressful week, or you don't like cooking, do you? Stop being so fucking lazy. That's part of it. We're believing the lies that are getting fed to us. That's what's led to this overall. And we're consuming this shit food. And how do I know it's shit food? Because we're eating it in abundance, and all the research backs it up that it's affecting your health negatively. If you're consuming more than 1 takeaway a week, your health is in a detriment. And the likelihood of you getting ill compared to someone that doesn't eat as much of this takeaway food as you do is significantly higher. So, it's highly concerning to me, really, that we've got this, ill health, obesity, heart disease, just on the increase year on year on year on year. And then the strain on our NHS and all the talking points around how it's struggling. It's struggling because of the amount of usage that it gets to, opposed to, the amount of funding, expertise as well. But don't forget, we are battering it. One of the best things that could happen to the NHS is that we try and stop disease and illness that is self-inflicted, that it's having to deal with. That I don't know. Am I the crazy? Am I talking craziness? If I'm talking craziness, you let me know. If I'm talking bullshit, you let me know. I really think that one of the best ways that we could help our NHS is by being a little bit kinder to our own health and well-being, that we don't really need the NHS for things that are preventable. Is that, I don't know, is that controversial? Is that crazy talk? Let me know in the comments. Now, as you know, if you've been listening to my podcast, I do like to give kind of practical advice and information. And I'd hate to end this kind of short one on this news that we've had today without giving some kind of practical implication. So, here's some takeaways. Number one, be mindful of how much you have. Not even just takeaways. I'm just going to say convenience foods, highly processed foods. They're going to fall into the same categories because they generally have the same kind of nutritional content, poor. So, convenience food, takeaway, high processed. What I want you to do is jot a few things down. So, point number one is make a point of how much are you having of that style of food. And at that point, you can make some real decisions of whether it's something that you need to rein in. Now, me having a takeaway or you having a takeaway, if it's once in a blue moon, who cares? Enjoy it. It is just food at the end of the day. But if you're having it regularly, more than once per week, it will, and the research proves it, have an implication, a poor one, on your overall health. So first things first is look in the mirror basically. How often are you eating crap food? If it's more than once a week, especially with takeaways and that, you need to start reining it in. Now, how do we start reining it in? Point number two is take control. You're right. Some of the kind of objections or barriers I hear off people is I'll hear people like, I ain't got time. I don't know how to cook. Okay, make time. Cooking can be really enjoyable. It can be really a good thing to bond over, with family, partner, kids. Spend some time together actually cooking. It can be a really useful tool to do that. Cooking can be fun, and if you don't know how to cook, learn, improve your skill set. What would you do the day that you could no longer order this in for whatever reason? You're just going to sit there and starve? No, you'd be forced into cooking something. So just start to learn. So take control, rein in the amount of takeaways, home cook, make time. It can be enjoyable. And I'll guarantee you will consume less calories. It will be more nutritious and your health would probably be in a better state because of it. Big thing of fakeaways. Fakeaways, so you kind of just taking the ingredients to make at home cook your favorite takeaway, a fakeaway, is significantly healthier because you're controlling the portion that's in there. You're generally picking better food sources. You're not adding an abundance of oils and salt that's in there. You fake awaying would be significantly healthier. So let's round that up. Be mindful of how much crap food that you're ordering in. Start to rein that in. You generally want it very infrequent. Second thing is make time and home cook. Learn to cook. It can be really enjoyable. It can be really fulfilling. Get that done. And instead of ordering a takeaway, why not do a fake away? Honestly, you can enjoy your food, and especially when you get good at cooking, I will guarantee you will probably enjoy it more than ordering in that takeaway. And all in all, I really think if you do this right and you're not wasteful with your food and your portion control and you get good at cooking the right amount, it'll even save you money because ordering takeaways and then getting it delivered to you is costly. It's expensive from my experience, and I'm sure you have the same experience because you're using the same apps. It's expensive to do. It's just convenience that you're paying for and the accessibility. Stop making everything so fucking convenient. Just, make it make it more than just convenient. Make it fun. You will reap benefits of it if you take control of home cooked and fake away. So today overall, and the news that we're consuming 50% more calories and takeaways overall than 2020, and it's just been increasing, is highly concerning to me because it's another kind of nail in the coffin, just another bit of data that we kind of go, the health of our nation is really poor. Now, weirdly, to finish on, there's only so much you can do to affect the nation's health. You know, me doing this is all I can do. And not even everyone's going to listen to it because I'm a nobody at this moment, hopefully. But what you can do whatever you want. You're in control of it. You're in control of the food choices, the supermarket choices, to a degree, money costing, I get that. But you can manipulate it more. You're in control of your overall diet a little bit more than the overall obesity rate overall. You're in control of how much exercise you can do. You're in control of how much you home cook. You're in control of how much you batch cook or fake away. I want you, if you're conscious that you are consuming way too much poor nutritious food in the form of takeaways, rein that in and take back control. Your health will be so much in a better position. And everyone talks about money and convenience and all this, and there's an old saying that always rings true, especially when you've lost it. Health is wealth. And that sentiment will only really come and punch you in the face when you've lost your health. This is a call to action from me. Be healthier. Live a healthier life. Stop making everything so convenient for yourself. Some things are just hard to do and awkward. It's the way it is. You want to live healthier? It's hard work. If you want to become fitter and healthier, it's hard work. Get used to doing the hard work. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. It's a short form because I just picked up this news and it kind of shocked me enough that I'm going to do a quick recording of my thoughts and some of the data that I know is already out there for this information. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. Obviously, give me a like, a follow, and a subscribe. And as always, stay active, stay healthy, and stay motivated. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the Witness to Fitness podcast. See you later.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Witness to Fitness podcast. The place to be for everything